Will Wade told us all that NC State basketball would back down from no one. They would run from absolutely no one. So this fall, NC State basketball is headed into the jungle.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. As always, terms apply. Happy Wednesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we've talked a lot about the toughness that Will Wade is bringing to the NC State basketball program. They would not be afraid in scheduling their non-conference opponents, both home and away. They would run from no one. They would back down from no one. And to be the best, you have to beat the best. Well, we already know about Kansas that's coming to Raleigh in December. We already know about the Maui Invitational, which will be a big headline event with NC State basketball in it. On Wednesday afternoon, the opponents for the ACC SEC Challenge have dropped. NC State will be on the road at Auburn. This is the same Auburn, at least the program, who was just the SEC champion last year, just a 1 seed in March Madness. Might I add, the number 1 overall seed in March Madness, the best team in the country, and they made it to the Final Four. Now, they're losing key pieces to that team, but they're still bringing back some pretty sizable amounts of talent. Tahad Pettiford, just to name a name. NC State basketball on the road at Auburn, into the jungle. What do you make of this?
You know, this schedule is becoming like somebody told ChatGPT, generate a college basketball schedule for an American gangster, and this was the end result of that. This is absolutely this is a schedule that you're going to find out who this team is right away. You're going to know right away whether or not you have a contender or pretender on your hands. And even beyond that, you are going to, I don't see a world where this team doesn't take some lumps early, but even through that, if they do come out unscathed through this, oh boy, it's going to be a frenzy, a fever pitch, something that we have not seen, something the world may not be ready for. If NC State comes out of the Maui Invitational and the ACC SEC Challenge and their game against Kansas with anything that appears to be a winning record, or you put more things on the W side of the ledger than the L's, I'm telling you right now, this is the type of stuff that you expect when you build up all of this hype. I don't want to see a team like this put together to play the Island of Misfit Toys Community College. I don't want to see an outfit like this put together and all this excitement drummed up to say, well, we'll just kind of meander around and we'll play Eastern Mississippi Community College, and then we'll play Independence, and then we'll play Delta Valley State, and then we'll play. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. I want to see you up against the best right away, because, again, even if we don't win, it's a litmus test that lets you know we're right there, or, there's still work to do here. But either way you cut or slice it, I can't be anything but excited about this, because even if we look at the big picture, right, even if we talk about the big picture of the season, when you think about what gets teams into tournaments, what gets teams into the NCAA tournament in particular, those good losses, those just playing teams that are good. And again, I'm not even assuming that we lose all of or a majority of these games. I'm just saying playing these games, your worst case scenario is you know where you are, and you end up with a situation where you have a bunch of, hey, these are games that those teams, they're bound for the tournament. Those teams bound for winning their conference. Those teams bound for great things, and you'll be okay with that. I mean, Kansas has won at least a part of the Big 12 championship for how many years out of the last 20, 23, or 24? I believe it's been every year except 1 or 2. So you're looking at a very serious operation being ran here. The schedule is going to be a gauntlet, but damn it, I'm here for it.
There are real situations that are good losses, and NC State has not had a ton of those because we haven't been able to play some of these bigger name teams. So this is a big deal. To Kenton's point, not just potentially taking those lumps early and finding out who you are. But if you win them, you become even more confident in what you already have. And if this team didn't need any more preseason buzz, now you're adding teams like Auburn and Kansas and the Maui Invitational. Just a quick refresher there. Those teams in that tournament, Arizona State, Boise State, the host is Chaminade, Seton Hall, Texas, USC, that's Southern Cal, and Washington State. That's an extremely winnable tournament for NC State, at least on paper. We'll see how the other teams shape out between now and then. But these are all fantastic opportunities for NC State and Will Wade to find out exactly what this team is made of as soon as December. You don't have to wait until you get into the middle portion of ACC play. You're going to have a very good idea of what this team is and what they can potentially achieve by probably like before Christmas, if we're being honest. This road game against Auburn is probably going to be somewhere in the middle of, actually, probably the beginning of December. The game with Kansas is December the 13th, right there in the middle of the month. These are all humongous games before you even get into some of your bigger contests in ACC play, like Duke and the Dirty Foot Club in Miami. Will Wade was not shying away when he said he wanted all the smoke. He said it and he meant it, and now you have hard proof that he wants every hard test you can throw at this team in year zero. Not to mention, you also have VCU. That's a really tough mid-major. You have Liberty. I think that's unconfirmed, but I believe we're going to be playing Liberty as well. That's another tough mid-major. He wants to battle test this team, and that's the way you should run your program. And I'm not trying to throw shade at Mark Gottfried or Kevin Keats or anyone else in the past. We've not had a coach that gets this aggressive in the non-conference. And I go back to this quote a lot. There's a video of Will Wade coaching at McNeese. It was one of their practices. And he was getting on the team pretty good in the middle of practice, saying that you should want things to get harder. You don't learn anything when it's easy and you're winning all the time. You don't find out about yourself and your teammates and the program you're trying to build. You should want things to get harder. This early non-conference schedule is a direct reflection of that. Having to go down and playing what has quickly become one of the top SEC programs in Auburn, you should want opportunities like that. A win over Auburn at Auburn would do wonders for Will Wade in this program. You talk about recruiting, you talk about just winning big games for your schedule. It's all right there. And so I'm extremely impressed with the way that the staff has attacked that non-conference schedule. They have meant every single thing they have said. They talked about their goals for the season. They built a roster that reflects that. They talked about wanting to play tough in the non-conference. They're building a schedule that reflects that. They stand on every single word they say. And it's quite refreshing to see this as Wolfpack basketball fans.
Absolutely. You had enough meat on the bone in this schedule coming in that you didn't have to schedule more tough games. It was not necessary. You credit to Keats and company because the home and away rather with Kansas was already scheduled. You could have rested on your laurels and said, we've got a perennial champ in there in terms of conference championship. We've got what we need in terms of difficulty. We don't need to schedule anybody else tough. Go get me the UMass Minutemen right now, with all due respect to UMass, of course. But, you could have said that and been like, hey, please bring me the MEAC and the SWAC. I don't want nobody else but them. Again, with all due respect to those conferences, they're not producing the same type of, teams and winning percentages that we're looking at with Auburn. They're not producing the same type of things that we're looking at with a Liberty and some of these tougher teams. So I'm going to applaud that what was already a schedule that, even if you don't schedule anything else particularly tough there, you're looking at a middle of the road schedule in terms of early season toughness. But for them to crank it up a notch, for them to look at this team and say, everything we want is on the other side of hard. Now let's go get it. That to me speaks volumes about where this team and where this program as a whole is going.
And I'll say this too, more often than not, these matchups, the way they get constructed is that if a team is projected to be pretty good, they're going to pair you up with a team on the other side in the SEC that's projected to be pretty good. That's why we haven't seen teams like Florida, at least not recently. I'm still scarred by that buzzer beater from Chandler Parsons. But you haven't seen NC State play like Kentucky, for example, or Alabama, for example. We get kind of like the lower level SEC teams. Not this year. Will Wade wants to say, is this your SEC champion, Auburn? Let me see what this jungle is talking about. And I kind of feel like we have unfinished business down there in Auburn because 2019 was the last time we went down there with Markel Johnson. really felt like we had a good shot to win that game. Probably should have won that game. I remember Markel Johnson had a technical late in that game that was extremely soft and kind of forfeited some momentum for us. So I would love to go down there and get some get back, because this should feel like a winnable game. We have to, of course, find out what kind of team we have between now and tip-off in November. But with Auburn losing the majority of their top-end talent, but still retaining some of it, maybe NC State will be even favored in a game like this one. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but this is a fantastic opportunity, and you cannot say enough about how tough this non-conference schedule is shaping out to be. It will only serve to our benefit over the course of the season. Coming up next, we're getting into a whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of something. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our Wednesday sponsor is Gametime. There's simply nothing like the NBA playoffs. The intensity, the buzzer beaters, and the fans losing their minds, it's the kind of atmosphere that we're trying to build this fall in the Lenny. Gametime makes it fast and easy to get seats, and even for the biggest of playoff games. Prices on the app will actually go down the closer you get to tip-off, and with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and zero surprise fees, Gametime is a total game changer. As I mentioned, you do get that panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect upon arrival. And there are zero surprise fees. What you see is what you pay for. No surprises coming from behind the curtain. Take all of the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, create an account. Use redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Middle portion of our Wednesday show. Now time for a whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of something. 3 topics. We'll tell you exactly where we stand on them. So first one here, let's have a walk down memory lane here. I have a tweet from our good buddy Grant Hughes over at 247 Sports. On April the 22nd, he said, and I quote, 12 Power 4 teams have made a coaching change this offseason. NC State and Will Wade have the second lowest ranked transfer portal class of the dozen, trailed by only Utah, unquote. Now today, on June the 11th, NC State and Will Wade have the number 2 ranked transfer portal class in the ACC, number 14 nationally. Kenton, whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of something. And also, just a quick question, Grayson. I know you're the stat guy, so I want to see if you got this stat on hand. Where do we rank amongst coaches, amongst teams with a coaching change? I believe we should be first or second there as well, if my count is correct. Grant, how's it feel, man? How's it feel to be this wrong? How's it feel to be, do you feel foolish? Do you feel not smart? Do you feel like maybe my Twitter fingers should deactivate, log off, go outside, touch some grass maybe? Good. That's how you should feel. You dork, you loser, you bozo. This is what happens when you don't let things develop. You can't, I tell people this all the time and people still don't understand it. You cannot conjure up an oxtail worth of blessing in hot dog time. It does not work that way. Now, for those of you who are not culturally familiar with oxtails, they are a delicacy. They taste wonderful, but they take a while to cook. Whether you boil them, whether you cook them on the smoker, oxtails are not something that you just look up and you're like, oh, I'll put that on the stove for all of 5 minutes and it was done. That's not how you cook oxtail, buddy. At least not how you cook it decently, okay? This is the same thing. Will Wade and Andrew Slater didn't say, let's run down the hill and go pay everybody we can a bunch of money. No, it was, let's get NC State guys. Let's get guys that fit our system. Let's get guys that want to be here and we'll make it happen. Not, guys that want to poke around and play around and, I'm only available to the highest bidder. Yes, we'll pay you your value, but we'll pay you your value and you want to be at NC State. Are the requirements there? So it's clear to me that this was a situation, whole lot of something. Great job by this staff. And again, Grant, maybe let's not rush to judgment so quick. Let's not run down the hill to say, it's been a month in and they don't have anybody, because look at you now. Down bad.
What was an attempt to be a gotcha moment on NC State fans? You played yourself, Mr. Hughes. Hate to see that. For dramatic effect, to answer Kenton's question, Will Wade ranks number 3 in first-year coaches for transfer portal class. I also saw that Evan Mia on his site, which does his metrics a bit differently, he has us as just the number 3 national portal class on his site. So regardless, however you want to look at it, whatever site you use, NC State's getting a ton of love, and it is requited. This roster was extremely impressive the way the staff has gone about it. You've heard us talk about it here for 2 months now. We just simply can't get over the fact how much talent they truly have. And the social media team for NC State is now posting clips. I saw Matthew Abel going left to right and jamming over Trey Holloman. I mean, good Lord. I guess we'll talk about that later, but oh my God. Okay, moving forward here, that is most certainly a whole lot of something. Second one here, NC State football, according to the ESPN FPI, which is the Football Power Index, ranks 11th in the ACC with a projected record from ESPN of 6-6. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
I'll say a whole lot of nothing, not just because I don't put too much stock in the preseason rankings, but if we are talking about that preseason ranking in particular, it has a bunch of teams all going 6-6. It has Louisville going 6-6, a team that I'm extremely high on. I don't see a world where Miller Moss and company cannot get that team higher than 6 wins. You retain Isaac Brown and his backup as well, and what are we doing here saying that team is going to go 6-6? This Duke team also going 6-6. Dirty Foot Club also going 6-6. And, of course, we're in there too. I don't see a world where Boston College is a better team than us. I just don't. I don't. Am I saying that there's not a world where Boston College were to beat us if we were to match up? Absolutely not. I saw senior night a few years ago. I still remember that. I'm not going to sit up here and say that. But what I will say is full season-wise, I don't see a world where, again, these teams, I don't see a world where all of these teams all end up with exactly 6 wins. And then on top of that, the FBI, I can't figure out what the FBI is based off of. Everybody keeps saying it's 20,000 simulations of what these teams should be going up against one another. What is the basis for what these teams should be? We're talking about Miami as having the leading FBI in the conference. And congratulations, if you're listening to this podcast right now, and I'm congratulating my handsome co-host, Grayson Boone, as well, because if you are listening to this podcast, or if you can hear the sound of my voice, you have thrown as many passes to Miami receivers as Carson Beck has this offseason. He's recovering from surgery. And they're like, oh, that team is going to be better than this Clemson team. It's foolishness. So a whole lot of nothing in my book.
This is like the epitome of computers and data and analytical stuff. It can only take you so far. Now, there's a reason behind it. It's not absolutely nothing, but you still got to play the games on the field. And so I, too, am going with a whole lot of nothing on this. I mean, it also doesn't really feel like news to us because I think the two of us are looking right around that 6-6 mark. It's kind of the general consensus amongst everyone, to be quite honest. So it's not really new news, but I was surprised to see how many teams, to Kenton's point, are right around that 6-win range because it obviously won't turn out that way. One or multiple teams are obviously going to punch above weight and maybe win like 8 games. Some teams are going to fall flat on their face, kind of like we did last year, and win much less than maybe their projected amount too. So it's kind of just a crapshoot. This is June jargon. You pull out all the numbers from the FBI and you're looking at Miami. Miami, what have they done? Well, nothing, of course, but that's the talking points that we're dealing with now. So the FBI having NC State at 11th, roughly a 6-6 record. It is what it is. What did you really expect to get from ESPN anyway? So, yeah, for right now, a whole lot of nothing. Third one here, Jordan Page. Jordan Page is a 2027 high 4-star shooting guard right down the street, Broughton High School in Raleigh. His coaching staff is Scott Wood, Ralston Turner, Stats Battle, and Chris Brickhouse. 4 former NC State basketball players. Jordan Page has just picked up an offer from Will Wade and NC State. A whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of something.
Very interesting that so many coaches are all NC State basketball alums. Normally coaches say things like, oh, we don't tell our players where to go because I know my head coach, Thomas Wilcher, was that way, and our assistant coaches were the same way. Coach Crowell, Coach Parker, Coach Williams, all those guys, they were the same way. I'm telling you right now, I'd be shocked and appalled if there wasn't a little nudge, a little, hey, man, when we were here, if you take this team to the Final Four, the Elite Eight, it just hits different, even with what we recently saw. I highly doubt that DJ Burns has to pay ever again in Angus Bar, and
he better not. Don't let me find out.
I was just about to say, I'm not a rich man, but I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it, DJ. You're with me. We're good. So, it's I'd be surprised if some of that wasn't happening here. But in all seriousness, I'd say a whole lot of something. I mean, you have a situation where you have these connections working out, and that's all recruiting is: building relationships, building connections. You have a built-in connection here. You have it. You have an advantage. You have a leg up. For those of you who play college football, EA Sports College Football, which we're going to talk about later, you know how that pipeline thing works out, where like you get a boost for getting players from a pipeline? Coach Wade, Broughton should be part of that pipeline. Millbrook should be part of that pipeline. These schools, Word of God, Christian God, those schools should be part of this pipeline, So whole lot of something in my opinion.
That pipeline is exactly where I was going with this. This is a whole lot of something. And I believe we talked about it last week with a couple other 5-star recruits in the 2027 class picking up offers from state. This is the situation you want if you're an NC State Wolfpack fan, to ensure that you no longer have to worry about a John Wall situation or a Devontae Graham situation. Years upon years of the top level talent within the city of Raleigh, not just the state of North Carolina, but the city that our school is located in, missing out on all of these guys. Will Wade is here to put an end to that. And to Kenton's point on the other end, when you have already the inside track, because 4 of his high school coaches played in the red and white, this should be a layup, pun intended. This should be the easiest recruitment ever. If you have success in year 1 and you already have his high school coaches with a connection to your program in his ear, I hope Scott Wood wears an NC State polo every single practice this coming basketball season. It should be that easy. You don't have to go over the top with it and try and get in his ear. Just put up like pictures in your office. Put a Will Wade bobblehead on your desk over there at Broughton High School. Whatever we got to do to land a talent like this one, you have to establish those pipelines, because it has been far too long that NC State has been looked over for the Dirty Foot Club or Duke or even Virginia, losing talent to schools all over the country, like Devontae Graham going to Kansas. Ridiculous. It's time that we finally keep the top-level talent right here in Raleigh and, of course, put them in the red and white. So this is a whole lot of something, and I'm looking forward to watching how the dynamics change here with Will Wade, the new sheriff in town. Coming up next, we're getting into some EA Sports college football talk. Schools are going to be paid on how often you use them. What might that mean for NC State? More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Last couple minutes of our Wednesday show. EA Sports College Football 26 is now just weeks away. I am obsessed with this game. I was last summer as well, waiting however long it was, 11 years between 14 and 25. I will be getting each and every copy when it comes out every year. Can't wait for this year's edition. But Kenton, I saw a very interesting article posted on On3. So this year for EA Sports College Football 26, teams will actually be paid. Actually, the schools will be paid based on how often those teams are played with. So, for example, if you play as NC State all of the time, NC State will see a higher cut of this. So, yes, you too can ensure that NC State receives a financial benefit to this. In this article on On3, it says, and I quote, documents obtained show a new structure for royalties from the video game, which made its return last year. CLC Learfield will play a central role in this process, and according to these documents, it's a shift from last year when the company said it couldn't historically tie sales of the game to specific schools. The royalty process is also a change. Schools were placed into one of 4 tiers. Remember the tier system we talked about last season. These 4 tiers based on the previous 10 years of final AP poll results. Now, those tiers will be determined by the amount of time users spend playing as those schools, unquote. So this kind of rolls into a bigger conversation we've had about revenue sharing coming down the pipeline for the ACC and where NC State falls into that. The biggest umbrella idea I can give you here It is now more important than it ever has been to be a fan of your school. You can have a legitimate impact on how much revenue that NC State is pulling in. And it might not seem like you're making a difference, because I understand maybe it's not like millions of dollars that I'm going to be providing by playing with CJ Bailey every day. Obviously, that's not how it works. But if you're an NC State fan, you should be using NC State this summer. Regardless on how you feel about the season, you should want to log on and play as Hollywood Smothers and CJ Bailey and Noah Rogers, because it will legitimately financially benefit the Wolfpack football program.
Wolfpack fans out there, now's the time to start your propaganda machines for your children. Okay. I know a lot of people listening to this, you don't have time to play games a lot. Your children do. Okay. If you've ever seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, the way that they were, the way that the Fire Nation was propagandizing their children to be like, yeah, we were so peaceful, and the Earth King or the air nomads just came out of nowhere and tried to attack us. So we had to do what we had to do. We need to start the same thing just with NC State, okay? We need to, hey, there is no better defensive player than Mario Williams. Can I tell you what that defensive line was like? He played next to a guy named Manny Lawson. He played lots of years in the NFL. Best receiver in ACC history? I'd probably say Torrey Holt. Torrey Holt is a phenomenal player on a bunch of different levels. He should be in the Hall of Fame already. There may be a conspiracy to keep him out. We're still looking into that. Best running back, Ted Brown, of course. Did you know that his record was only broken by Travis Etienne, who had to play a ton more games than he did? His playoff games were counted. His bowl games were counted. I'm sorry, I don't think they had the playoffs back then, but his bowl, yes, they did. His playoff games are counted. His bowl games are counted. His conference championship games are counted. Ted didn't have any of those counting for him, and yet he messed around and barely broke his record. We need to get to propagandizing our children, and it starts with the video games, okay? Tell them children, you'll get more money if you play with NC State. Throw an extra couple ducats on that allowance, because this is a time where you are directly helping out NC State solely by playing this game. And I know North Carolina has a little bit of a problem with loyalty, the state of North Carolina, in terms of like most North Carolina fans, there is no official baseball team. So it's hard to get, behind that. Carolina Hurricanes, everybody's falling in line because they're winners. They're doing their thing. Most people, the Panthers and the Hornets, I hear lots of people are Cowboys fans here. Whatever. I'm like, what's that polar bear doing in North Carolina? What are we doing here? But for this instance, we need to raise a child up in a way that they should go, so that when they are older, they will not depart, okay? And it starts with telling them, you need to be playing with CJ Bailey. There's no better running back on the game than Hollywood Smothers. What other running back would you want to play with? Combined with Duke Scott, who has 4 years of eligibility as well. This is the backfield you need to be playing with. May I interest you in some Keenan Jackson receptions, perhaps? Some Justin Jolie up the seam, perhaps? That's what we need to be telling our kids.
A real impact, and I mean, I get it, it's small. A real impact that has been missed for over a decade is how impressionable these video games are on the youth. To Kenton's point, the kids that are going to be playing these games, and now with the NIL in the game, and players can use their real name, you can use their real image. The kids growing up in Raleigh with their parents or maybe friends being NC State fans, they're going to look at Hollywood Smothers on the game and say, I think he is the best running back in the ACC. He's faster than everyone else. He always scores when I need him to score, and that's without even having to throw the ball to Justin Jolie. In fact, he might be the best tight end I've ever used in this game. All of that, although small, it matters. It matters for brand recognition nationwide, not just within the state of North Carolina. Using and repping your school, being a fan of the NC State Wolfpack, for all of us, it has quite literally never been more important in our entire lives. It has never mattered more if you watch the game or not watch the game, if you go to the games or don't go to the games, if you play as NC State on the game, or if you play as Georgia Tech, as I like to do. Probably shouldn't have told you that anyway, but maybe this summer you can play against Kenton and I, but I guarantee you might have to fight us for who gets to put on the red and white, because I'm going to want to use NC State regardless on if we're going 6-6 in the real world or 12-0 in the virtual world, because we always do in my dynasty. This matters. It's small, it's fun, it's supposed to be fun, but it matters. And so very cool that schools will get a bigger cut based on how often players are using them nationwide.
Yeah, 1,000%. We always go 16-0 in my dynasty because we get the ACC championship and semifinal or quarterfinal, semifinal in the Natty as well. So, our coach has surprisingly gone 103-1 over my tenure so far. Don't ask about the one. It was a rage baiting moment where I wanted to break my controller. But yeah, this is a big deal. I mean, this is something that, again, objectively, you can help out the university. Objectively, you can help out these players by simply playing a video game and having fun. It's a win-win.
It's certainly a very cool way to keep fans more involved because that, too, is a very big piece to the puzzle. That will do it for us here on Wednesday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box. Give us your thoughts on the non-conference schedule that Will Wade is piecing together. Now the ACC-SEC challenge is set, and we will be going down to Auburn to face off with the Tigers in the jungle. Let us know your thoughts on the NCAA football video game coming out in just a couple weeks. Tell us your thoughts on the recruiting class that Will Wade has put together, the FPI index for NC State football, and possibly Jordan Page, the 2027 local shooting guard. Maybe he does make that quick journey over to NC State. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see you right back here on Friday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.